In this video, we are going to talk about, should you carry spare ammunition on your person if you carry a firearm for self-defense outside of, I would say, your house, right? Out in the public, out in the woods, wherever you're going. Big question, should you carry it? Let's take a deep dive and look at this. First, last time I checked, not too long ago, it was a 0.01% chance that you were going to get into a self-defense shootout where you needed a spare magazine or a speed loader for your revolver. Well, that's pretty low percentage, right? Like 1/10% right there, or 100th of a percent. I don't know. I'm not good at that, but 0.01%, right? So let's take a look at this, or 1,000. Might be 1,000. I forget. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so the fact that there is a number that we can account for, that means somewhere along the line it has happened since we start recording this kind of stuff and keeping this data, the government keeping this data handy. So is it worth it? That's the question. Should you be training to do a reload, right? Well, let's talk about something else first when it comes to everyday carry. First of all, if you're going to be doing everyday carry and you're thinking about carrying a spare magazine or a speed loader for your revolver, more importantly, you should be carrying this, and possibly some medical on you, maybe like a tourniquet and a gauze for stuffing a wound and stopping bleeding, right? So now, I'm a big proponent of extremely powerful flashlights, where when I hit you with the flashlight in the face, it forces you to put up some kind of barrier to stop you from your eyes from being hurt more by the light. I love that concept. I'm just a big fan of it. Take one of my low light classes. I got one coming up in September with handgun and one coming up in October for rifle. Knife. People are like, oh, I don't know if you're gonna stab somebody. I don't really carry this to stab somebody. I do carry a knife for stabby stab in case I get locked up into a confrontation that I did not want to be in and I can't get to my firearm. I don't want to go to my firearm at that point because it would be compromised if I got it out pretty easily, but I can get to a stabby pointy thing, and that stabby pointy thing is a fixed blade on my person. In case you're all wondering, it is the ShivWorks clinch pick, I think it's called. ShivWorks clinch pick. Put this back without stabbing myself. There we go. Okay, back to the knife real quick. I carry a knife that is utilitarian in nature. This knife is not going to break easy. I keep it pretty sharp. I'm not gonna say it's gonna slice paper perfectly, but it's pretty sharp. But the edge is, I'm probably more likely opening boxes, Amazon packages, things from the mail. I might use the back of the spine for screwdriver type thing or something, but as far as the cutting edge goes, it's probably been used more to cut rope, cut branches, cut things at the range that I need to cut, or opening packages. That being said, if I need it, it's there, but I'm going to tell you, folding knives are not your first go-to. But this knife I can do a lot with. So this is the DPX Gear 3.0 Hest, HEST. F for folder. The Hest F, the folder. They do make a fixed blade, right? So it is deployable with one hand, by left or right. It's got a window breaking device on the end there that could also be used as an impact weapon. It has a very thick spine. You see that? So my concept with a pocket, a folder knife, is to be a strong, sturdy device that can be used to help me in an emergency to do a multitude of things. So this one is so thick that I can pry with it. Now I might lose a little edge prying or something like that, but if I need to get out of an elevator that's broken or stuck, or the power's out, or I need to pry a window or a door, or get out of a vehicle, this will help me do that. So it's got a pretty sturdy edge, it's got a thick spine, it locks extremely well via the inline lock right there, as well as a rotating lock right there. It's not designed to be put away extremely fast, but it is designed to get open fast. It's got a bottle opener back there. It's got these little crimper things right there. And nice thing is, like I said, I can pry with this sucker. And I like the design because what can happen with this, I don't know if people will see this, but when it comes out of the pocket, what happens if you grab the edge of your pocket on the way out, grab the edge of the pocket, what happens is your clothes catches on that, and then you can open it on the way out of your pocket. Again, not my primary self-defense tool. If I need a knife, it's going to be my fixed blade. But good utilitarian. So if you're thinking of carrying a spare magazine, or you're like, hey, I carry a spare magazine, right on. That's awesome, and I think you should. We'll get to that in a moment. But you should also be carrying your knife, your flashlight, and possibly a tourniquet and some gauze. Okay. Now, back to the spare magazine issue. It can't hurt to have it if you can fit it on you, right? It's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Especially here in Connecticut, we are downgraded to 11 rounds. So the criminals are all running around with whatever magazines came in the guns when they got them illegally, right? Or they're running around with whatever their lawful friend who buys magazines for them was able to buy. And if I was a criminal, I knew I needed magazines, and I was worried less about civilians and cops, more about other bad people like other gang members or other street people that like to commit crimes and are violent, then I would have my friend go out of state and get me some high capacity magazines. All right, because you can go in a lot of other states to get high capacity magazines. Oh, excuse me, let me correct my terminology. They're standard capacity magazines. We in Connecticut with our 10 round magazines are using low capacity magazines. So high capacity is one of those terms coined by our anti-gun government organizations within our own government. And so, you know, I'm stuck with 11 rounds at best in any semi-automatic. The most I can have is 11. You know, revolvers are 6 or 5 generally, unless you get one of the 8 shots or 7 shots, Smiths or something like that. Now, if that person's coming at me with more ammunition and we're in a parking lot and I was able to draw and shoot at them, does that mean they're going to go down quickly? Who knows, right? Maybe they got a friend with them. Maybe it's an active shooter in a mall and there's more than one. Maybe it's a Klebold Harris kind of thing, and instead of a school, they're in a mall and there's 2 of them. And they are between me and my family, or me and the people that I care about. Or maybe I just want to help the people they are trying to hurt, even though I don't know those people. God forbid we do that in this litigious world, right? So why would I not want to have, especially in, again, a state with diminished capacity magazines, why would I not want to have that spare magazine? It makes no sense. So now we've determined, doesn't hurt, probably should do it, as well as your flashlight. I'm telling you, I think a flashlight is mandatory 100% if you carry a firearm. I'm not talking about one on the gun. I'm talking about one in your hand, one in your pocket, whatever, and something you can go to do your search and assessing without pointing a muzzle of a firearm at somebody you're not supposed to be pointing a muzzle of a firearm at, because that can violate the law. So, your spare magazine, how are you going to carry it? Man, I don't care. Whatever it is, I would tell you this. Make it consistent, right? If you like deep concealment and it takes you a little bit longer to get that magazine out, just understand that. Train to be as efficient as possible to minimize that amount of time as possible, right? If you're going to go with one of those magazines that's super easy to access, maybe like a sidecar setup on your appendix rig, right on. That's probably one of the faster ways, because appendix is one of the fastest ways to get your gun out, or the fastest way, in my opinion, to get your gun out. Then probably an appendix carried magazine is probably the same, whether it's attached to the holster or it's a separate device, separate holder on your belt. Is it can, you know, so how are you gonna carry it? Let me tell you the way I carry my spare magazine. Okay, so here's my spare magazine carrier. This is a inside the pocket magazine carrier, and it's made by M2 Tactical in Norwalk. It's got a discrete carry concept clip on there. I only use 2 clips. I use these clips, and I use those ones that clamp down. I forget the names of them, but I like those 2 as well. When I'm clamping stuff on holsters and things like that onto my body, if I'm using clips, it's these, because these are really good at grabbing onto the clothing, or it will be one of those alligator ones. The only problem with those clampy ones with the little lever you push down is I find they start to tear my clothing, and you know, it's just something I want to deal with all the time. So this goes inside my pocket. You see they got a little wing on it right there for the gasket, so you can loosen and tighten it based off of the magazine you have. It's got some adjustability as far as there's 3 holes here that you can adjust off of, 2 high and 1 low. I'm not sure if that one low is actually for adjustment or if it is for drainage or something like that. I don't know why it'd be for drainage actually, because the bottom of the magazine's open. So it's probably not for drainage. So there's 3 on there. Maybe it depends on the kind of clip you have. Right, whether they're going to put 2 here or here and here or there and there. When I put this in my pocket, what happens is the pocket sits right at the top of the clip there. So the little bit of the magazine is sticking out. That's pretty, I like minimal printing. Now, my t-shirts generally hang down over my back pockets and my front pockets. Now, I've seen people carry this in their front pocket, drive into their right-handed shooter, drive into their left-hand front pocket to get it out. I like to carry it in my back pocket because on most of my clothing in my front left pocket is my flashlight, which I am probably going to get out more often than the magazine. So I make sure that my clothes, my pants can support that setup right there. That's what I do. I drive, now, if you're going to carry your magazines, right, in a spot on your body, and you want to be consistent in your training, think about that. You should always be practicing, not always, but a majority of the time you should be practicing with that setup. So when I go to classes, I'll practice from this holster. I'll draw out of it, get my mag out, do my reload, then I'll set it up to do it again. I might have magazines in my pouches just to be able to carry them. I mean, on my belt, just to be able to carry them. But that's just to be able to carry them in a class. Otherwise, my primary go-to in the class is going to be usually this back pocket magazine carrier or pocket magazine carrier. Now, I used that setup a lot last year during my training courses that I was teaching. I never lost my magazine when rolling around on the ground, when doing my gunfighting 2 classes, doing my gunfighting 1 classes, practicing for those classes. I never lost that magazine. It didn't come out, things in there. I have pretty good tension. You can set the tension via the rubber gaskets and screws. I set the tension, seems to be working just fine. I haven't lost it yet. And honestly, I throw my gun on, my wallet in my pocket, throw my business card holder in my pocket, put my watch on, put my knife in my pocket, put my flashlight in my pocket. I got my belt mounted knife, which goes on my pants when I'm putting my pants on. And I put this in my back pocket, and then my phone, my keys. That's pretty much my everyday carry. Oh, and a tourniquet. I try to get a minimalized tourniquet and a tourniquet, and that's it. I don't carry the gauze. I don't carry a chest seal. I carry a tourniquet. If the person is bleeding profusely from the chest that I engaged, or if it's a loved one, I will start stuffing the wound with other stuff. Shame on me, whatever. But this isn't about that. This is about magazines. So let's look at it. It's 0.01% chance, last time I checked, of you needing a spare magazine, right? Doesn't hurt to have it, right? If you're carrying a gun anyways, magazine's not that hard to put on there. And now the next part of this is when, why, what, how, why should I have this spare magazine? Okay, you've determined it's a good thing to have, right? If there's that 1% chance, that 0.1% chance I need it. But let's think of some scenarios where you might need this, right? A lot of people get into fights. A lot of people get into fights before they get into gunfights. I don't know what the number is. I'm not going to say it's 50%. It's probably much lower than that, but still, that's enough people, right? There's people that get into physical altercations with people before they get into a shootout. There's people that are hit by a car, that are pushed down to the ground, that are forced down to the ground in some way, shape, or form at gunpoint. Any number of things, right, can happen. Not every gunfight happens like this. You could have been hit by something. You could have been struck by a bat, by any number of objects. You could be the person closest to the assaulter, to the assaultee, the person doing the assaulting, right? That's the assaulter, okay? And you just have to be the take the brunt of the problem, and all of a sudden you find yourself on the ground. You're trying to get your gun out on the ground, which is habit. People had to get their gun on the ground, and there's always that chance that you could have landed on your firearm, one, which could dislodge the magazine from a hard shock or something like that. It could break the magazine. There's one thing people overlook: it could break your magazine, right? Your magazine not only could come unseated, but it could break. If I draw my pistol and I go to shoot, I get one round off and I get a click, and I feel that magazine, or I realize that magazine dropped out of the gun because it came dislodged, or maybe it's broken, I now have something I can go to without having to kneel down, reach down, go down, or start searching around the ground to find that thing. If I'm on the ground and I have it right next to me, it's still intact. Great. grab it, put it back in, get back into the game, right? But it's nice to know I have it if there is a problem. Maybe I'm out and about and all of a sudden my magazine just breaks. My base plate breaks. I didn't know it's cracked. You didn't see that, even though you did your inspections every so often. You just didn't know, and all of a sudden your magazine just spews out bullets. Don't say it doesn't happen. It's happened, all right? Because it happened to me when I was on the job. So that could happen. That's a possibility, right? I've had to, in the holster, reload, pull the old mag out, put the new mag in. I had one in the chamber. I knew that was good to go. And I shyfully in this person's house picked up my ammunition and parts for my magazine, threw them in my pocket, finished the call, and went on our way. And then found out that my magazine base pad had broken at some point in time. Right? So again, I give you some reasons there. Not only could you run the gun dry in a scenario where you need more than 11 rounds, because I'm in Connecticut, majority of my time is spent in Connecticut. If I'm leaving Connecticut, I do have magazines above the capacity of 10. I had to register them. I lawfully own them in Connecticut. Yes, it all sucks. I get it. Tyranny, blah, 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 blah. Let's drive on. And if I know if I'm leaving the state, I take those with me, and those are the magazines I carry when I'm in a free state. Again, less chance to run a dry when I got 18 rounds in the gun, or 17 rounds in the gun, or 20 rounds in the gun. I got 11 rounds in the gun. If I got a semi-auto, if I got my wheel gun, I've got 5. If I walk into someplace and there's 2 people that are assaulting people, felonious assaults, 5 rounds, 11 rounds, none of those seem like great numbers to me. And obviously you should understand why those aren't great numbers. Handguns are not great at stopping people quickly when you get solid hits. Even with solid hits, right? Heart, lungs, brain, chest area, from the side, direct, from the back, from diagonal areas, or the head. Not great at it. Just the way it is. You're going to want to ensure that you stall the problem as fast as possible, letting the least amount of damage be caused by the person that's assaulting everybody. So can't walk around with a rifle or shotgun anymore. It's not really conducive to everyday life. That's why we carry handguns and just less lethal firearms. That's all. They're less lethal. They have less lethality than shotguns and rifle rounds. And I'm talking rifle rounds, not 9mm carbines or 22 long rifle. I'm talking 30-30, 30-06, 5.56, 223, 300 blackout, 7.62 by 39, 308, those kind of calibers. So that's my take on it. You make a decision based off of what you think you need to do. Hey, down below, let me know. Do you carry a magazine? How do you carry that magazine? What holster? Maybe somebody else is looking for a holster in the group, and they want to see what's going on, so you can maybe say, hey, I carry this company's holster or something like that. That'd be great. Also, please like, share. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Man, that's a gimme. But the shares, if you are my subscribers, the shares are huge. Send this to your friends. Let them see it. Ask them to watch it. Give them a like if they like it. And let's all start being prepared for the battle to come. And there's a battle coming somewhere. It's going to be time and place and how long. So get prepared. Take some training classes, right? This is useless without training. Absolutely useless. You're more than likely going to hurt yourself or somebody else that you didn't mean to hurt if you don't train with your firearm. And I'm not talking about going to the range, standing there and going bang, 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 and then getting a group that's this big at 5 feet. Okay, I'm talking about taking classes, putting yourself under pressure. Competitions, another good one. Taking classes, doing competitions, seeing how other people are doing, getting better skills, increasing your skill level, things like that. Because when that fight does come to your doorstep, you're going to want to wish you had done everything you can do. And your life and the life of people you love could be dependent on that. So get out there, train, compete, practice what you learned. Okay, this is Frank signing off. Stay safe, stay free.